YouTube, it is the day of the brand new pack with the release of Ryzeal. We have crazy techs and decks in today's event, like people main deck in Metaltronus. This would be similar to someone main decking a Lancia against Maliss. Metaltronus is specifically going to be used against the detonator, Ryzeal detonator that is. They can't change the Metaltronus with the detonator, and then you banish their detonator face down after negating it by playing your own detonator in your own extra deck. That is crazy. Now, what if they don't have a detonator? You could instead summon an Apollo USA. If there's an Apollo on the field, you can negate their Apollo. And then we also have at the bottom here, not just Voiceless, but Ryzeal with Voiceless. We already know that Voiceless does really well against Maliss when going first, and that is thanks to the non-related, apparently Sarvis is not related to the Sarvis ritual. Sorry for not being able to show you that in game, but it negates an inherent special summon, which would be the Link 3 Maliss. It negates and banishes it, and then when banished, the card doesn't even trigger because it cannot even come back because it was not properly summoned. And we've been, this is what, the third, well, I guess Rentos was one of those people within the early rounds that clapped up early rounds, is now in the top 16. So I think that this is at least the best way to play Voiceless, but the best way to play Ryzeal, that's to be seen. We did see this version of the deck clap up Fiendsmith Ryzeal. And with that all said, by watching as long as you can, that greatly supports the events. Hajime.
There can only be one winner, and you're looking at it. Let's go.
We're going to start this off with a normal summon Dormouse, banishing from the deck a March Hare. We have no disruptions whatsoever here. We do have the Metaltronus for when they summon a detonator to banish it and negate it with the Metaltronus, which will be insane. And then we have the ability to banish cards in the graveyard with the White Binder. If we well-time the White Binder, let's say in response to a ritual summon, we know that low will trigger after a ritual summon potentially. Thus, being the non-turn player, the White Binder will be the higher chain link to banish it before it reborns back. So that would be Metaltronus, White Binder. We also have the MTP, which will be settable from the deck with the White Rabbit to non-target banish a card in the field. We didn't put Cryptor into circulation. We do have the Apollo USA to negate a monster and negate a monster again. We also have the Firewall Dragon, which could target cards on either player's field or graveyard to return monsters back to the hand per co-link. Right now we have one. We could have a possible second one. And beyond that, the Crossout Designate does not seem like it's going to be a form of disruption here. We also have a Maxi, which I'm not going to be counting as a form of disruption, but we could draw into another disruption. Good luck. Hit him with the C right away. Rentos, you made it all the way to the top 16 here. Do not scoop it up. We're going to grab an X Ryzeal. X Ryzeal does not activate in the hand, so we cannot negate its activation to summon because it doesn't activate. Now we can chain link block the X Ryzeal from being negated on the search as we put the aggregator on the higher chain link to target and negate the Firewall Dragon. We're going to use Apollo to negate the aggregator from negating the Firewall Dragon. As we get to resolve our search with the X Ryzeal, you have to know that we are under the lingering effect of X Ryzeal, which states that we can only summon rank 4 Xyzes from the extra deck. No Little Knight play, nothing, no Dynamundo. Special summon a Sword. Sword's going to be searching for the Ice Ryzeal. We have not committed to a normal summon yet. We have the Ryzeal Cross. We're now going to GWC it up to Reborn from the graveyard or banishment. White Binder is here. Gain 2,300 life points. We're going to banish, so we were using that as a form of disruption. That's now gone. As we now trigger the Red Ransom and the March Hare to add back to the hand. Red Ransom will likely banish a White Rabbit from the deck. White Rabbit banished from the deck will be summoning itself on the field to set up the MTP for the non-target banish. Get ready for it. This is it. Underground for the next turn. Another copy, a third one. We have the MTP for the non-target banish ready. And we're using it right away. We're not going to wait. We're going to banish the White Binder to non-target banish the Ryzeal Cross. We're at triple disruption left. Metaltronus being one of those 3 disruptions. Barrier of the Voiceless is a scary card against the Metaltronus. While you control low and a light ritual, you cannot target the light monsters. Well, the Metaltronus says target the monster. So to counter Metaltronus, you can make a Star Leech before you commit to the detonator, or if you're Voiceless, just have a barrier. Saphira is going to be searching the deck for nothing as the Apollo negates. You still have Firewall Dragon to return 2 monsters from either field or graveyard back into the hand. Exciton Knight. Oh, buddy, you need a negate for this, and your negate has already been used up. Exciton Knight is going to destroy the entire field as long as your opponent controls more cards and or plus cards in their hand, and they definitely have more than we do. This is it, non-target wipeage. Exciton is Zeus at home once per chain during your main phase. If your opponent has more total cards than you, you could detach a material to non-target, destroy every other card on the field. Now, Dormouse, if it were pointing to anything, Maliss Link monsters cannot be destroyed by card effects, but we don't have a way to get Dormouse onto the field. This is it. Let's get to it. Let's do it. Exciton Knight. Chain the Firewall Dragon to return the Apollo USA back into our extra deck. No way this is going through. Wipe the field. Wipe it all. We deal no damage for the rest of the turn. Full loss at the end of the battle phase. March Hare within main phase 2. What this means is you can't just initiate a March Hare in main phase 2 unless we were attempting to end our main phase to go to the end phase. This means we're done, right? Why are we trying to do that? Because we want to Exciton Knight again. It's not hard once per turn, mate. Wipe the field, tricked you. Now we're gonna normal summon an Ice Ryzeal. This is really wild. You passed priority in main phase 2, meaning you tried to end your turn knowing that they would March Hare before you ended your turn, and then you normal summoned. If they didn't activate March Hare, your turn would have ended. Rentos, you're crazy. That is insane. Imperm, negate, the ice. Well, damn, bro, we still scooped. That really sucks. A really good effort. Exciton Knight fully wiping, not once, but also twice, and then follow-up ice getting negated by the Imperm. You know, sometimes wiping the whole field is not a good idea because of impermanence. Well, it looks like we're going to be using Triple Tactics Talent, as the low on summon sets up the barrier into the back row, searching our deck for a Saphira. Against a Full Loss, Voiceless does not really care too much. It could Reborn, a low from the graveyard, summon from the hand. All not viable against the deck because we're not going to be triggering a draw. We don't summon from the extra deck or deck as much. We do have the Druistorm banishing away the Saphira, so we can now activate the Triple Tactics Talent because of the Druistorm and the Molcharmy Full Loss, as we're going to be looking at the hand, return back the Dormouse. Let's now summon our Sarvis Dragon by returning 2 spells engraved back into the deck. We're going to be waiting for them to activate any card effect whatsoever, which will then allow the Sarvis to change the effect to summon a Skull Guardian to turn on an Omni Negate. Now, we're in a vulnerable position here. The barrier states that while you control a low and a light ritual, your opponent can only target ritual monsters for attacks. Thus, we could take out the low. But the low is going to come back as soon as you wipe her out as you activate another card effect, and then once the ritual monster comes out thanks to the Sarvis, low will just reborn. Did not go to the battle phase. We're going to activate a White Rabbit right away as the Sarvis will chain to it, which will now give us the ability to be untargetable from the Druistorm effect to send a face-up monster to the graveyard that was special summoned. Negate plus Impermanence Mate, double Disruption. What do we negate? Do we Skull Guardian negate the MTP? We do not, as it searches for the March Hare and banishes the White Rabbit by cost. White Rabbit is now going to be going into a Link Decoder. Link Decoder is going to be allowing us to now banish the White Rabbit with our March Hare to get our optimal setup of 3 bodies, with one of them being a Link Decoder. To avoid that optimal setup, we're going to Skull Guardian, negate the March Hare. And now we could follow up with our extension, Mouse and Underground Field Spell, banish the Dormouse from the deck, Dormouse activate to banish from the deck into a March Hare to add back to our hand. From here, we could go into a Red Ransom, chain link blocked by the Link Decoder. Red Ransom, search, Link Decoder, chain link block the search as we can grab a Malice in the Mirror, but Malice in the Mirror is not even activatable because the opposing monsters are not targetable. So we need a way to banish our Red Ransom, which will be the Access Code Talker. Access Code Talker is going to get boosted and banish away the Red Ransom to wipe away our final form of disruption, say goodbye to the impermanence as the Red Ransom, reborns back in the field to then summon a Chessy Cat after being banished. Chessy Cat's going to banish the Mouse and Mirror, drawing into an Impulse. Also, we are going to be adding another March Hare from the deck. Let's further go into a Splash Mage. Splash Mage, reborn back on the field, the Chessy Cat, as we now go into a White Binder. White Binder on someone's going to banish 3 cards from either player's graveyard, but we passed on that effect. We're now going to Access Code Talker, banish again, pop away the Skull Guardian with no ritual spell in graveyard to trigger. What was that? Lethal damage with the White Binder. That is a 2-0 victory. Damn. Begin. Normal summon ice. We're going to use our effect Veiler onto that ice. We could follow up with the Bonfire or the 7 Tachyon. 7 Tachyon is a -1, Bonfire is not. It's a 1-for-1 as it grabs our Ryzeal. Ryzeal, we're going to use an Imperm onto this as we send an Aggregator to the graveyard. We do not, as we grab a Sword Ryzeal. Sword Ryzeal, special summon, search on our deck for a Star Ryzeal. We're on 3 summons so far, as we now on the 4th summon go into the Duo Drive. Duo Drive is going to be activating with no protection as the Imperm negates. Now, the Ryzeal Crossfield spell would not have protected us from the Impermanence anyway. Imperm is a very powerful card that, if saved for Duo Drive, will likely always go through. Star Ryzeal setting up the Ryzeal Cross, as we now flip it up and further go into a Bagooska. Bagooska is going to be one of the most powerful cards for the mirror match, and I believe he knows what the opponent's playing. So because of that information prior to the duel, we're going to go straight into Bagooska. We have Bagooska Floodgate, a Monster Negate, and Effect Veiler Mate. Triple disruption. So the big question is, how do we out Bagooska? Very easily. Send Aggregator. Negate. But is it that easy to negate if we have a Ryzeal Cross to negate your Negate Mate? Well, that's now an issue because we're going to negate with the Cross. Detach off of the Duo Drive. Now, the Ryzeal, of course, is negated, completely ending our turn. Plasma Hole is dead. We can't even use it. It requires us to have a Ryzeal Xyz on the field to even activate to pop a card on the field. Ice Ryzeal on summon. Summon the Sword Ryzeal. Search in our deck for the Ice Ryzeal. As we further go into the Ryzeal Detonator. Detonator on summon, equip the Aggregator from Engrave. We're going to 7 Tachyon, search our deck, then return a card to the top of our deck, Nibiru. As we now Duo Drive detach off of the Bagooska and another monster to search for a Plasma Hole. And the Ice Ryzeal is going to special summon by discarding a card. We're also going to special summon the Ryzeal, sending a Duo Drive. Further going into a Dugaris, which could double the attack of the Detonator. We're going to detach, boost, 6,000 attack with over 11,000 damage on field. Lethal damage. Well done. Well done. All right, let's hop another one. We're going to send Aggregator to summon the Ryzeal, searching for our sword. We did not Imperm the Ryzeal despite having more than 1 Imperm. We're going to summon a sword, further searching for the Ice Ryzeal. Now committing to a Flame Banshee. Banshee's going to detach, search our deck for a Star Ryzeal. Star Ryzeal is going to detach off of the Banshee, searching and setting up the Ryzeal Cross. With the Ryzeal Cross, we need a Ryzeal Xyz to be able to negate a monster effect. We're going to send the Banshee to Reborn from Engrave with our node Ryzeal. Further going into the Duo Drive. Duo Drive, lulled into a false sense of security, is going to be activating under the protection of the Ryzeal Cross, which does not protect you from the Impermanence. You have to have a cross-out designator for that Imperm, or you could summon your Star Liege, which we are playing. Star Liege would be protecting it. As we ice, summon a sword from the deck, we're going to triple Xyz into the Ryzeal Detonator on summon attach from Engrave, the Aggregator, as we now set the Plasma Hole in pass. We do have the ability with the field spell to negate by detaching off of the Duo Drive. We could pop 2 cards on the field, then give us another pop onto the Detonator with the Plasma Hole. We can negate with the Aggregator and detach it to pop. We can also pop, pop, pop. So that is 8 disruptions mates. Now, with no plugin, Imperm can negate the Detonator, and because Aggregator is not an Eclipse Twins because Konami is amazing, it's going to get fully negated. What? Imperm, negate the Detonator. From 8 disruption, we now just lost 4. So we're at 4 disruption. Whoopsie. Pot of Desire, banish 10 cards off the top of the deck, draw 2. Ice Ryzeal is going to be negated by detaching off of the Ryzeal Detonator. We're going to Sword on summon, searching for the Ryzeal into the Exciton Knight. Now, does this work? Your opponent has to have more cards than you. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, that's a pop. We popping. Wipe away that field, mate. Plasma Hole is not going to negate. It's going to get popping now. It's okay, right? Detonator has the effect of, if we would be destroyed, you could detach instead. Well, we're actually negated by impermanence, so that doesn't work. Wipe the field. No way. Now, Nikki Art could not deal battle damage for this turn, but we could still establish a great field. We're going to send the Fuelos for the node. Reborn. Duo Drive is going to be here. Duo Drive is going to be attaching from the graveyard, detaching 2 materials to search for the Cross and an Ice Ryzeal. We already committed to our normal summon. We have the Ryzeal Cross returning 2 cards engraved back to draw a card. We're now going to go into the Baguska. Nikki Art is highly prioritizing the Baguska summon. Now, with the Plasma Hole, if you could get this into the graveyard during the opponent's turn, you could instead use the Plasma Hole to go into a Baguska whenever you want. End our turn. We can't out the Baguska. I think Baguska is another reason, in addition to the Detonator, to play a card like Droplet. We already see a lot of people playing Droplet to negate the Detonator. They can't change the Droplet. And you also now want to out that dirty Baguska. Duo Drive, detaching 2 materials to search for a sword and an ice. As we Ice Ryzeal, summon from the deck a sword. Let's just clean up this duel. 9,300 damage. 2-0 victory. The power of Baguska and Exciton Knight helping to win the mirror match. Begin. Normal Dormouse for the protection of the TB11. We have the Right Rabbit when banished to summon itself back onto the field to set into the back row and MTP. The Purge can negate the MTP from searching, but if we Purge, we're locked out of Dark Water and Fire for the rest of the duel. Link Decoder is here. We're going to Chain Link block a search, so the Purge will not even be activatable. As we Link Decoder with that block, Reborn back on the field to then get ready for the Apollo USA. Let's grab the Maliss and Underground into that Apollo. As we now, with the Maliss and Underground, banish from the deck the Maliss and Mirror. Well, Apollo negates Ash, but it cannot negate the Purge, so this is a pretty good choke point to use that Purge to negate. And we needed the Maliss and Mirror to banish the Red Ransom. So if we knew we were playing against Blue Eyes, we could have played around the Purge instead of getting choked up by it. By banishing the Maliss and Mirror, you could instead change your mind to banish the Engrave Red Ransom, which would completely play around the Purge. Which people would maybe do more often if Blue Eyes were more prevalent. And then we do have the Ultimate Slayer to deal with the Apollo. Now, despite that, we still have forms of disruption. The GWC will be able to ensure we can get a Link monster out on the field. Then we could MTP non-target banish. We could also double monster negate with the Apollo. But we do have Ultimate Slayer. Getting rid of our little knight because it can't even activate for the rest of the duel. Be gone, Apollo. Maiden of White setting up the True Lights. Now, if you want, you can MTP directly to a Chain Link banish. If we MTP on the lower Chain Link, higher Chain Link, GWC summon the Red Ransom. We got the Primite Barrel setting the quick effect of Drill Beam, not activatable this turn, of course. Spirit with Eyes of Blue on summon, search in our deck for the Mausoleum. We're now going to True Light, set into the back row our Wishes. With the Wishes, we're going to be discarding the Blue Eyes Jet, searching for the Roar and a Sage. I feel like we've had good opportunities to activate the MTP to banish. I guess we're waiting maybe for a bigger field to banish the True Light. We're going to be targeting the Spirit with Eyes of Blue. Let's Reborn the Blue Eyes White Dragon from the grave, come forth. We could reset the Purge by turning the Blue Eyes into the Fusion. We're gonna go into a Light Storm Dragon. So this is where it's important to understand that you could MTP on the lower Chain Link, then higher Chain Link summon your Link. There you go. MTP first. If it's not first, you screwed this up. GWC on the higher, and then unstack the plates. Let's Red Ransom, gain 23, add, non-target, banish the Maiden of White. Maiden of White be gone, Jet Dragon's going to trigger because the Light Storm has destroyed a card in the field, thus it reborns from the grave, then protects all of your other cards from being destroyed by card effect as the Red Ransom searches for a follow-up play. Jet is here. Jet can non-target bounce the Red Ransom into the extra deck to the face 2700. Main phase 2 Hermetic Seal of the Heavenly Spheres is here as we Lordy load summon a Blue-Eyes White Dragon onto the field. We're now going to march here at the end of main phase 2, banish the Dormouse, Dormouse trigger, reborn itself back onto the field. And what did we accomplish here? We could non-target pop up to 2 cards on the field with the Majesty. We could return a face-up card back to the hand through the Hermetic Seal. We could banish any card in the field and negate it. And off of the triple disruption, what else do we have? We got triple. Well, we have the Veiler also, so 4. Negate the Dormouse. Now we're at 3. When and what do we banish the Drill Beam? Because it will trigger a monster. We now have Lingariba, which can stop the Majesty from being activated, as it would just negate it. We're going to return back to Lingariba, so we're now back to Drill Beam. Well, you returned it back, and I just summoned the same one back, right? That's kind of what we do. We're going to Drill Beam. Finally get rid of that Lingaribo, as we're now... 2 disruptions were used on a single Lingaribo. As we're now going to be reborning back the White Rabbit, the Nightmare Phoenix is going to be forcing the activation of the Majesty to take out the Phoenix. Ghost Ogre is an interesting tech, not only against Blue Eyes, of course, but against Ryzeal. You could try to use it against the Duo Drive since it has to detach on resolution to get the effect. But usually they're going to have a Ryzeal Cross, which could help negate the Ogre from stopping the effect. We're going to Mouse and Underground banish from the deck, a Dormouse reborn back in the field, Gold Zark banish from the deck here. We have to be careful if we want to set up an Access Code Talker play because of the Jet Dragon. Other cards we control cannot be destroyed by that Access Code Talker play. March here, banish the Chessie, Chessie trigger, reborn back onto the field. Triple link into the White Binder on someone we could banish from either player's graveyard. Say goodbye to the ever-recycling Drill Beam as the True Light is going to attempt to reborn. We're going to use the Ogre to take out the True Light. True Light, no, reborn, and then True Light is going to... True Light can't be destroyed, actually, because the Jet Dragon... You can't... Nope, we wasted the Ogre. Oops. So it's not only Access Code Talker that can't destroy other cards, but also the Ogre. GWC reset back onto the field here. Let's take out by battle, only by card effect. It is protected. When sent to the graveyard, it's going to send from the deck to the grave a Maiden. We're now going to GWC, banish the White Binder within the battle phase to reborn it back on the field and draw a card. Chessie could maybe draw 2. We already did draw 2 this turn. As we now main phase 2, Access Code Talker, which we have to first take out the Jet Dragon. Did we summon a Splash this turn? We did not. We did summon a Phoenix, though. Phoenix take out the Jet. And then we're going to be further banishing the White Binder, say goodbye to the True Light. True Light, trigger, wipe away the entire field, and now back to you. We do have engraved the Maiden thanks to the Kaiser Seahorse, which will be rebornable off of the activation of the Roar, reborning from the graveyard, but we do have Ash negate the Roar to stop that from happening. We could follow up with Lordy Load, but if you Lordy Load, the Maiden on field will not be activatable to reset up the True Light because special summon monsters cannot activate for the rest of the turn. Ash. Negate. This is an interesting situation. On the very next turn, Access Code Talker has nothing to banish from engrave to start up our plays. Thus, Maliss has no follow-up. Blue Eyes White Dragon, trigger the Maiden. Remember, Maiden cannot activate. Whenever you summon here, cannot activate. We're going to have to pass the turn. Imperm will be good enough to negate the Access Code Talker. Now, how do we deal with this Access Code Talker? Access Code Talker, as soon as we hit the main phase, could banish itself to pop a card in the field. So we may want to preemptively imperm negate the Access Code Talker out of fear of it non-target popping by banishing itself. We're afraid of that. Yes, we are. Okay, let's negate it preemptively. Also, permanently dropping down its 20 to 2300. Within the end phase, we're going to summon an Ultimate Spirit Dragon. Ultimate Spirit Dragon is going to activate to attempt to reborn as the Blue Eyes Jet Dragon now triggers to reborn itself back on the field off of our own card being destroyed. Jet it up. Call to the Grave, obviously not activatable, as we summon our Light Storm Dragon. What a play. That was great. If we thought that they were going to make some crazy plays in the end phase, we could have held on to the called buy if we could have foresaw this happening. Scoop it. Well done. Access Code Talker very likely would have tried to pop the Spirit Dragon. Now, the Jet would have triggered off of it, but then we would have lost out on the other plays. Let's hop into game number 2. White Rabbit on Summon's going to be setting up a TB. We do have the Ash Blossom to negate an effect summon from the deck, which we're going to negate the TB from summoning a Dormouse from the deck. So what we could do here is we have Ogre to stop the True Light, a very powerful card here. We have the Impulse to negate an effect to special summon. We have the Mirror to negate a monster on the field. And then when the Red Ransom comes back, it will banish a White Rabbit to then summon to that set an MTP to the non-target banish a card in the field, giving us 4 disruptions. And then we also have Max C. Max C plus 4 disruptions should be enough to win this. Sage with Eyes of Blue, Maliss and Mirror, I negate you. Drill Beam says, not today. We're going to negate the negate. Chain Maxi Mate. As we also Purge. Purge to negate Maxi. March Hare is going to be further banishing from the grave here. Banish the White Rabbit. Now, a lot of you may be pogging over, whoa, Purge could stop Maxi. In most cases, I would say 9 out of 10 times, usually, it's not going to be able to negate it because how do they activate Max C? On your turn 1 with an open field, thus the Purge is never really activatable. But in this case, it is a great negate. Banish away the Maliss and Mirror. Maliss and Mirror can now trigger when banished. If we have a card engraved to banish, we could banish the Dormouse. We have the White Rabbit activating, the Maliss and Mirror activating, banish the Dormouse. As we search our deck for a Maliss, as the White Rabbit is now going to be summoned to set up the MTP. We have Ogre, MTP, and Impulse. Triple disruption. This isn't too much of a big deal, but White Rabbit is one of the worst cards to put to where a Link monster is pointing to because of their secret effects. Dormouse would make the Red Ransom indestructible by card effect, and the March Hare would make it untargetable. It usually doesn't ever really matter, but you know, it's just a small little detail. We're going to be banishing the March Hare, searching for the Chessie, non-target banish before they link 1. Now, we do have Maiden, but we have Ogre for the blowout. It's going to completely blow them out of the water, taking out the True Light. This is essentially a side deck card against Blue Eyes. This is absolutely unfair, and we're probably only playing it for the duo drive interaction. That's a scoop, right? True Light, wipe away nothing. Let's hop into game 3. Wishes for Eyes of Blue, discard the Jet, Ash, negate. Not today, mate. We do have Gold Sark for our core play here, so if we can at least have a single good form of disruption to stop it, we may be in the clear. We are going to be searching for the Roar here as we roar a Blue Eyes White Dragon from the deck onto the field with no Maiden in grave. True Light is not a disruption, and we have to wait for a card to be destroyed to even reborn the Jet, which is not even a form of disruption. So what are we left with? Just a Nibiru. Is that going to be good enough? And I don't know if we play Nibiru ourselves. We're playing Ogre, which decreases our chance to even be playing Nibiru. Dormouse, activate, banish the March Hare. So I should just be counting up the summons. Well, do I even need to? It's right there. But still, I'll do it. We're on summon number 1. Link this off into a Link Decoder. We're now going to banish from Engrave as we're now into summon number 3. As we're now going to summon into 4. And now we're on summon number 5. We have to Nibiru on the resolution. If we don't, Apollo will come out and negate the Nibiru. Now, is this a good Nibiru? It's not, but it's the best you got. You have to, and it still sucks because they could play right through this Nibiru. Tribute off the field as the Maliss and Mirror will play right through the Nibiru as you're about to see here. Activate, banish the Red Ransom. Now, why did we do that? We're scared of Purge. If that face down card's a Purge, it would negate the Maliss and Mirror. We don't want that to happen here as we are summoning our Red Ransom, banish from the deck the White Rabbits. We kind of got hit hard by Purge in the earlier duel, so we're going to avoid that mistake as the MTP banished the White Rabbit to non-target, banish away the Purge, right? Well, you would have purged this, but you don't have Purge, so let's just take away the True Light. Gold Sark is going to be banishing from the deck the Chessie trigger, Reborn back onto the field here, banish the March here, draw 2. As we further link this up into a Splash Mage, Reborn from engrave our Dormouse. As we further link into a White Binder, banish 3 cards from either player's graveyard, take out the Jet Dragon so it does not reborn when we destroy the Nibiru, GWC, banish, reborn the Red Ransom, gain 23, reborn back the White Binder, draw a card here. We're going to set up the GWC, and then we're going to further turn all 3 into a Cryptor. With the Cryptor, let's wipe out Nibiru. We could then banish ourselves, come back at over 5,000 attack. Boost! How big are we? We're 50... I can't even see it. 5,600 damage. Set 3 pass. We are in big trouble. We do not have... I guess what we could do is we could White Binder, banish MTP, and then return the MTP back into the deck here, and then possibly have a way to reset it. Well, we don't have to really even go into it. We have so many forms of disruption as it goes into a Typhon. Now, we cannot activate the Cryptor, but we can Imperm, then activate the Cryptor. Honcho, you're doing the best you could do, my friend. Yep, just kill your Typhon, because why not? Hey, no, Mitchell, no. Okay, I'm very sorry about that to, Honcho, not cool. Sorry. Let's hop into another match. Normal the Ice, special summon the EXT Ryzeal. What's so important with Fiendsmith Ryzeal is to check the lingering window button. You're looking for lingering effects. As soon as they lock themselves into rank 4 Xyzs only, they cannot make Fiendsmith plays. Let's Exciton Knight, which is a Light Fiend, into our Requiem. So we're safe, no lingering effects here. Does Ice Ryzeal have a lingering effect? Yes, but only if you special summon it, which you normally don't even do. Lacrima Crimson Tear, send Engraver from the deck here. Return back the Exciton Knight to reborn back the Engraver. As we now turn these 2 bodies into a sequence which we may be using the Imperm for. Let's use the Graveyard. We chose to not do so because we know that this is just trying to trick us. Well, if we were able to make a Desiree, we would then be able to negate the impermanence anyway. We're going to add back the Engraver Engrave to then search for a track. Track's going to be searching for Engraver to discard the Lurie already in our hand. Lurie activates Reborn here, possibly an Apollo USA is what I'm expecting. Apollo'd up. And now, with Apollo, we could finally start our plays. Return back the Lurie with the Lacrima, special summon the Sword, searching for the Ice. Not Ice, but EXT. And what you should note here is the X Ryzeal was not activatable. If this card is summoned and you control no other face-up monsters except level/rank 4 monsters, so the Apollo being there stopped the X Ryzeal. And because of this downside, that is why you want to summon the X Ryzeal with Ice to forego that effect from being turned off. Duo Drive. Duo Drive is going to be attaching the X Ryzeal from Engrave. Duo Drive is going to detach to now search for a Ryzeal Cross and an Ice Ryzeal. Let's set up the Cross to give us another monster negate. Node Ryzeal, get rid of our Fua Lost Mate, reborn from Engrave. Further going into our Detonator. Detonator, equip whatever we want from in Graveyard. Come to us Fua Lost as we Ryzeal Cross. Return 2 Ryzeals back to the bottom of the deck. Draw 1. What are our forms of disruption? We have Pop, Pop, Pop. Triple Pop, Monster Negate by detaching off of the Duo Mate. We also have Triple Monster Negate with the Apollo, giving us a total of 7 disruptions. And for the turn, we draw Max C. What the hell was that, Gargolo? 7 Tachyon. Let's search our deck for an X Ryzeal. We're going to return back the Node. Imperm, Negate, the Detonator Mate, and we had 3 pops on Detonator, so we're now from 7 disruption down to 4. We're now going to Aggregator, Chainlink block the X Ryzeal from being negated to try to negate the Apollo USA. Wait, we actually Chainlink blocked the Aggregator from being negated by the Apollo, thus the Apollo can negate the search, and the Cross can negate the Aggregator. Is that what's happening here? Negate the search, chain Apollo to negate the Cross. Our 1 of Cross is now gone. Is this worth it? as we fully negate the Apollo, now dropping us down to, we have nothing. We have nothing, 0 disruption. Detonator, activate, equip the aggregator. Mate, we're going to Ice Ryzeal, summon from the deck a Star Ryzeal. Star Ryzeal is going to set a Plasma Hole into the back row here, further going into the Duo Drive. Duo Drive is going to be activating to search our deck for a plugin. Plugin is what you need for when your Detonator gets negated by impermanence. You would pop yourself, go to the grave, plug in, reborn yourself back in the field, give it a material, and then it activates to gain a second material. With no plugin and no Eclipse Twin, you get blown out by an impermanence as we did here. We're going to send the Plasma Hole to the graveyard to reborn from engrave with the node Ryzeal, summon a second copy of the Detonator. Now, this is illegal if you control a Ryzeal Cross. Ryzeal Cross states that you cannot exceed summon monsters with the same name as cards you control, and normally you don't make big plays like this without having a face-up Ryzeal Cross. Let's clean up this field, take out the Duo. We're going to protect ourselves from battle destruction by detaching and say goodbye to the Apollo USA. And a good question is, there's no way 2 detonators work. Yes, they do. That's a pop, 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 and also plug in, pop again. 5 disruptions, mate, plus Maxime. We're going to Ryzeal Cross, return 2 cards in graveyard back. No, you're not. I'm gonna pop you as you attempt to do that. Wipe it out. And from here, what else do we have? We have an engraver to attempt to search our deck for the tract. Of course, it goes through. We have no negates. We're going to engraver, reborn from engrave as we chain the Maxime. We have 4 more pops left, and the plugin will also search for a follow-up play for the next turn. I'm trying to not be biased here, but Pure is looking a little bit better. Now, how do we deal with this? This is actually a problem, right? It does have the benefit of being unaffected by monster effects and cannot be destroyed by battle. Well, we have Eclipse to be the way to out it, but it's in our hand. We are going to Chaos Angel, banish away 2 pops, so we're now down to 2 pops left. Say goodbye to the Duo Drive. As we end the turn, Plasma Hole is going to banish to rank up Xyz into a Zeus. Zeus is here. Don't mind if I do. I was thinking there's no way you're making the Utopia one. Utopia would have to discard your Book of Eclipse to Xyz summon over. Don't do that. Book of Eclipse it up, flip the field. Plugin is going to reborn back the Duo Drive. Duo Drive is going to attach from the deck thanks to the plugin, and we're going to detach off of, well, first on summon, we're going to be attaching a card from the grave. Duo Drive is going to detach off itself to search for an Ice Ryzeal and an X Ryzeal. X Ryzeal cannot be activated to search because of the Zeus. So if we want to, we could send the Zeus through an Ice or a Node. We are not going to, if we swing, it would then be, so here we go, it's completely wiped. It is not protected by battle. It is also unaffected by monster effects. And I guess we didn't want to attack into it. Okay, Zeus kill it. Engraver is going to return the Lacrima back. Yeah, I know, there's question marks. So the question mark is, I believe we thought that it was still going to have these protections, and we didn't know, or we were unsure that the book was actually wiping away the benefits, but it did. Lurie add from the deck. A good question here is, what are our disruptions? We have Impermanent Zeus. That's it. Let's reborn the Lurie into the wreck when we go. Now, the Light Dragon has an effect, right? If a monster would be destroyed by card effects, you could detach a material. Instead, we're going to imperm negate the Lacrima Crimson Tier mate. That seems like a weak negate. Gargolo, are we... we're in big trouble now, aren't we? Wipe the field! That's it. 0 disruption left. Ice Ryzeal and summon a sword from the deck. As soon as I said Pure was looking better than Fiendsmith, now Fiendsmith's going to win. Good job. I shouldn't have said anything. Let's summon the Ice, special summon the sword, further go into our Ryzeal Detonator. Detonator on summon, equip from the grave as we now hop into game number 2. Fool loss on the draw phase. I do have a Fool loss play on my YouTube channel under the Ryzeal guide where you could give them 1 draw and you're still going to be able to make a Detonator and have a bunch of disruptions. So let's see if Gargolo watches my YouTube. We're going to send a Duo, searching for the sword, special, the sword, searching for the Ice. As we now go into the duo, this is all good so far. Unfortunately, I do have an impermanence to stop this great anti-imperm play. Star Ryzeal setting up the cross. All is good here. As we now special summon the node, we have a lot more than we need than usual. As we further go into a Star Liege. This is going to happen. Now you feel a little silly for holding the imperm, but really, are you feeling silly? If you imperm early, I could just summon a second duo drive. I think that this is going to be an immensely underestimated play that's going to become a lot more popular, and probably due to the Eclipse Twins not being available, being one of the reasons why we want that further protection from cards like Impermanence. You held onto the imperm, and now what are you going to do? Ash, negate the duo drive. So it makes you want to think that you probably should have just impermed their X Ryzeal instead. With the cross, we're going to detach. Well, the duo drive only has one material now, and it can't detach off of itself both materials, but it does not matter. We could detach both materials off Star Liege, and a really good follow-up would be thinking, Star Liege surely needs a material to give that targeting protection. No, it could have 0 materials, and it gets its full benefit of protecting from being targeted by card effects, and also can't be destroyed by card effects. It doesn't need anything. We're going to cross, return 2 monsters and graveyard back in the deck. It could be 2 Ryzeal cards, that is. Summon the Ice Ryzeal. And you could be thinking, why did we not exceed? Well, we are under the effect of Full Loss, but we're going to be using and abusing the effect of Plasma Hole. First, we have to get into the graveyard by activating it to pop a card in the field. Then we're going to banish it to summon a detonator during the opponent's turn. And that detonator will be untargetable thanks to the Star Liege. So if we want to count up disruptions, we have a negate with the cross, we have a detonator with 3 pops, a 4th pop with the plug-in, at least 5 forms of disruption, and then another pop. I guess we can't get the pop with the plasma. We could pop with plasma initially, but the material attached is not going to be another disruption. 6 disruptions, plus a max C. And under Full Loss. Call to the grave, finger the C. And we don't have to go into a detonator. We could make a Baguska instead, which is really good in the mirror match. Do we Baguska or do we detonator? What's the play here? Aggregator is going to negate the cross. Cross negated as we search for a node Ryzeal with the X Ryzeal. We're going to Plasma Hole, pop the X Ryzeal. We have 5 disruptions left. Plasma Hole. Is this Baguska or detonator? It's a detonator that cannot be targeted by the impermanence due to the Star Liege. Activate the detonator. Wait, why didn't... I guess we're saving the detonator effect to attach for if it leaves the field again through the effect of plug-in? Did we oopsie on that? What happened? Why didn't we want to attach? We are going to be searching for the Ice Ryzeal on someone's going to activate. We're going to use the detonator to pop away the ice. We do not have a negate on the cross. We still have plug-in to give us another pop. Cross is going to be activating to return 2 Ryzeal cards back to draw a card. Node Ryzeal is going to be sending the dead impermanence to reborn the ice from engrave. Triple exceeds into the Ryzeal detonator. Detonator is going to activate to attach a 4th material here. To battle we go, take out the duo drive, and then end our turn. So what we have here is 4 pops plus a negate, and one of those pops can be a negate of a monster effect if we want. Instead, we also have a Droll and Lockbird. 6 forms of disruption. Can't use detonator to pop the detonator. Cross is going to attempt to draw a card by returning 2. We're going to use the detonator to take out the Star Liege. Get the Star Liege out of here. We did not detach the aggregator to then negate the cross effect from negating us. We're going to Droll. Now, it looks like we can't negate Droll, right? But as long as we attach a material, and by the time the Droll and Lockbird is about to resolve, we could then detach off of the detonator to negate the Droll. But you're activating with the face-up detonator, which can now either pop the cross or pop the detonator. What are we doing here? We're targeting a duo drive, but so the duo drive can be the one that gains the material. Thus, instead of popping the detonator, we probably want to pop the cross. The cross is going to get popped. The aggregator is going to negate the duo drive or the detonator. I mean, we probably negate the duo drive, right? Well done. We're under the... Well, Duo Drive's already negated, essentially because under the effect of Duel, we can't add. So let's negate the Duo Drive, the detonator. But if we activate Aggregator at all, it will allow us to chain the detonator. So maybe we don't even activate the Aggregator so that they don't chain detonator to the Aggregator. We're doing it. We're still doing it. Okay, we could chain if we want to. We say no. We pass on chaining our own detonator. To battle we go. We're simply big enough, but they do have the ability to detach material instead of being destroyed by battle. And we now make a Zeus. Zeus sends the field, does not destroy. We have a pop and we have a send. Pop and send. We could pop the cross, but then by popping the cross, the detonator can either pop or detach off a detonator to protect the cross from being destroyed. So with those two options here, we're going to go for the pop to force out the Zeus. Zeus is going to chain to send every other card from the field to the grave. Thus, the draw effect of cross is no more. Wipe the field. I'm thinking almost for the mirror match that there is a potential viability of playing 2 cross field spells for the grind game. I don't know, because I think it's going to be immensely common that we're going to be just trying to pop each other's field spells. Requiem is going to jump off, come forth and summon from the deck into the Crimson Tier. Sent Engraver here. We're going to equip onto the Crema, summon a Princess. Reborn back the Engraver. Of course, Lancia does absolutely nothing through all of these freaking plays. As we further go into a Wave King Caesar. Wave King Caesar alongside a normal summon Ice. Ice summon from the deck a Sword. Sword add the X Ryzeal. Special summon the X Ryzeal. We can't search our deck due to the Wave King Caesar being on the field here. But we do not have enough for lethal for the 500 damage attack. What the heck was that? As we now go into a Ryzeal detonator. We had to have missed lethal here, right? How did we not have lethal damage? 1100 at least extra from the detonator. We're going to 7th Tachyon. Now, how do we break this field? They have 2 special summon negates. So if you try to special summon the X Ryzeal, it negates, right? No, it can't stop this special summon. It can't stop that special summon. But if we activate the special summon, it can negate. So in addition to those 2 special summon negates, which aren't that great, we do have 4 pops with the detonator, which will give us 6 disruption. And then if we count the aggregator negating another face-up card in the field, that would be 7 disruption with this small field. And I don't know if we play Paradise with the Lacrima. So that's maybe 8 disruption. Big maybe. Summon the X Ryzeal. Aggregator is going to attempt to negate the Ryzeal detonator. We're going to detach to pop the X Ryzeal. And now we lose all of our other pops with our Ryzeal detonator. So we're stuck at 3 disruption. 3, we could still detach aggregator to negates. The Wave King Caesar still has 2 special summon negates. And it does look like we play Paradise. So now we get to getting that confirmation that we do play that 4th form of disruption as the Crimson Tier sends the Paradise here. Yeah, buddy. Summon the Ice. Go into a detonator. Activate detonator. And the Paradise will be chaining to the detonator summon to send the detonator to the grave. Detonator can protect itself from destruction, but the Desiree is not destroying, it's sending. Send it to the grave, summon a node negate with the Wave King Caesar mate. I'm confused here. What is going, like, why are we not activating aggregator to negate? Are we low on time or something? Why are we not chaining the detonator to pop a card? Their detonator can't protect their card from getting popped because it's already negated. Gargolo, please, what is happening? We passed on a pop, we passed on a negate, and now we're getting negated by the Wave King Caesar that we could have popped or negated. It's time, right? It's gotta be time. We're low on time. Yeah, whenever something doesn't make sense, it's got to be the time limit. 2-0, let's go. Fiendsmith Ryzeal, 2-0 and pure. D-shifter. This, I would say, in a lot of ways, is quite anti-access code talker. You can't Splash Mage Reborn, you can't Link Decoder Reborn. The access code talker would have to banish your own monster off the field to even get poppin'. You have a non-target banish with the Cryptor, a non-target banish with the MTP. We have the Apollo with the double monster negate, plus the Ash negate and interaction with the deck. 5 disruptions, and any card sent to the grave is banished instead. I think what's really popular in the mirror match is focusing on getting out a Lingeribo. Lingeribo to negate the MTP. Chessie Cat is going to attempt to banish and draw 2. It is not banished by cost, thus by effect, we do not get to banish at all if negated by the Apollo. To battle we go. We then go, yeah, that thing about the field spell that says I can't attack into the Apollo because this deck is great in balance with Apollo. That's great. Yup, I should just scoop now. Gold Sark. And set 2 pass. By ensuring we set the impulse, it now makes sure that we do not turn off our own Firewall Dragon. We not only have Max C, but in addition to that, our forms of disruption are going to be negate a summon effect, negate an interaction with the deck, negate a monster on the field. We're going to be able to, I don't know if I want to count the Binder as a disruption by banishing for their graveyard in the mirror match, so I'm not going to. We have the Cryptor, which will be summonable to banish a card in the field. We also have the MTP, which will non-target banish a card in the field. And then we have the Firewall Dragon, which can return a monster from either field or either graveyard back to the hand. It's given us 6 forms of disruption in addition to that Max C that we got to play through. Nothing for the Max C. And if we had called by, we could use the Firewall if it were co-linked to add it back, which we of course couldn't. Imperm, turn off the Firewall Dragon. Chessie, attempt to draw 2. Ash negate, we're now down to 4 disruptions, mate. With 4 left, we're scooping. 1 and 1. We have Impulse negate a special summon, Bell negate an interaction with the graveyard, which would be the Maliss and Underground. Even though you're usually banishing with the deck, it does have the option of banishing the grave, thus it can negate it. This could also negate a March Hare, which could be quite good. We have also Drone Lockbird, which could disallow them from further adding after adding. Triple Disruption. Let's see what's good. Well, could bell that right away. Yep, bell it. And that would end their turn if it weren't for the Triple Tactics talent, now being able to possibly draw 2. We're not going to look at the hand, right? I mean, we do have Triple Disruption. We have no play, though. And notice how the Maliss in Underground is now gone. So it's good, it's also bad. Because the Bell negates the activation of the Maliss in Underground, and you can only activate 1 per turn, that means another copy of Maliss in Underground, if searched with the Red Ransom or drawn here, will be activatable again to banish from the deck. Whoops, what the heck? Oh no, you stopped my plays. I guess I'll end my turn. We have Impulse, Imperm, Ash, Quadra, Disruption. Dormouse is going to be banishing from the deck as the Imperm negates. We have 2 follow-ups, Gold Sark and Underground. We're going to Gold Sark, which the Impulse can negate whatever you try to activate, unless it's a March Hare, but then we could further negate the March Hare when it tries to summon from the hand here. And the Impulse will not just negate, it will also destroy. So this Link Decoder could have possibly instead been a Lingeribo, but then we're not getting the benefit of the Link Decoder being an extra body in the field. We're going to March Hare, negate, and destroy. We do have the follow-up of Maliss and Underground, so you can say it's okay that this wasn't a Lingeribo. Maliss and Underground is going to be banishing away the White Rabbit. White Rabbit can get impermanenced, stopping it from setting a trap. We do not imperm it. We turn these 2 bodies into a Lizardos. Lizardos is a cost to banish, so you don't negate, because as soon as you could respond to it, the card's already banished. Dormouse is back on the field here, as we now go into the Red Ransom. Well, we know we can't imperm this, because there's a GWC which will dodge the imperm. We're going to search for a Maliss and Mirror. Pop them for 23. GWC, banish the Red Ransom, reborn the White Rabbits. We have another 1,200, another 23, and another, how big is Chessie? Chessie's another 15. 5,000 additional damage, which this was lethal if a Dormouse resolved. Dormouse for the entire turn boosts up your monsters by plus 600. Chessie in main phase 2, Ash Blossom will negate. Uh-oh. We are going to still be able to make more plays beyond that. We have the single imperm, which the Lingaribo is now pinning down from being activatable. Apollo USA. As we set impulse and pass. This is an interesting end. We have no Martyr, no way to interact with our mouse cards here. This doesn't really feel safe to me. And thankfully, Hakimo just has no play. We have Impulse Negate a summon, double monster negates. Let's go, mate. Imperm. Attempt to negate the Apollo. Lingaribo. Negate and banish the impermanence. So we still have our triple disrupt. Monster effects. Monster special summon. Ooh, triple tactics talent. Thanks for the Lingaribo. I'm going to go for a draw 2 into the Chessie, which is not big enough to take out the Apollo. Hakimo, I'm so sorry. You feel really unlucky. What's going on? What the heck? Magnum Hut is going to attempt to summon. The Impulse will not only negate, but also destroy it, mate. And Victinium, I think, is in a really awkward position. Maliss in the Mirror is dead. We have no way to interact with our Maliss cards. How are we hanging on by a single 1600 attack Apollo and it's working? Cross out, designate. Oh my god, please negate that or something. I don't know. What the heck? Cross out, negate my own Max C. Damn. Really unlucky. That is crazy. We did not want to YOLO Allure. What do we have here? We have the ability to negate a monster with Imperm, negate a monster twice with the Apollo, non-target banish the Cryptor, and also MTP, non-target banish a card. We could also Binder, banish some cards from their graveyard, and we have an Ash Blossom to negate an interaction with the deck, about 7 forms of disruption if we count the White Binder banish. And then we draw Max C. This keeps on happening. Max C for the draw. Now, thankfully, they do special summon quite a bit on our own turn, so maybe we'll see some good use out of it. Gateway to Chaos, searching for a regular Blackluster Soldier. Barrel on summon is going to activate as the Goddess will negate. We didn't want to chain the Max C to it, which would ensure that the Apollo could not negate. We're now going to non-target banish away the Barrel before it bridges its way into the Link 1 to then additional summon into the Sage. Not today, as we hop into game 2. Barrel on summon, setting up the Lordy Load. Is this a new field spell? As the Lordy Load searches for the Primate Roar, we're going to further link this up into the Spirit with Eyes of Blue. Eyes of Blue, searching our deck for the Mausoleum of White. Mausoleum, send a Boy's Dragon from the deck to the graveyard as we now attempt to reborn it from engrave. I don't see Maiden, so I don't care to use the Impulse. I'm just going to hold it. So what we are set up with is the Primate Roar will be a form of disruption. On a normal summon, we can non-target banish your monster. We have Drill Beam to negate and banish anything. We can call by the grave, finger a card in grave. We have Ash Blossom to negate an interaction with the deck. That's 4 forms of disruption. I would think that it would be a good idea to just set the other called by, right? This definitely would see use, but we're holding it. Allure of Darkness. We're not going to Drill Beam that. Banish away the Chessie after drawing 2. Chessie come forth. We may Ash Blossom negate the effect to draw 2. Yes, we will. Negate. As we're now down to triple disruption. Drill Beam, while it negates and banishes, it will still trigger something like a Dormouse to just come back out onto the field. We're going to take control of the Blue Eyes. Well, that would mean the Drill Beam is no longer usable, but we could roar another Blue Eyes onto the field. No, you can't, because I'm going to Impulse negate. So we lose out on the Roar is no longer a disruption. The Drill Beam's no longer a disruption. And the Call by the Grave is all we have left. Dormouse, wow. Zeus beautifully dismantling pretty much his entire setup. White Lightning for game with your own Blue Eyes White Dragon. Damn. That was crazy. Maliss absolutely dominated Blue Eyes there. First, start this off with the Bonfire. Because we are playing with Voiceless, we likely have much less non-engine cards that interact with the opponent during their turn 1. That is definitely a downside you have to consider when mixing multiple engines. As we have X Ryzeal plus a Sword Ryzeal into the Duo Drive, we have not committed to a normal summon yet. Duo Drive is going to be attaching from Engrave and also going for a double search. I'm going to grab a plug-in plus a Node Ryzeal. Special summon the star by detaching to set up the cross. Cross is activated as we now plug into Reborn from Engrave. Attaching onto the Duo, we now have a monster negate. Return 2 Ryzeal cards, draw a card as we now make a Dugaris to potentially draw 2. Detach, draw 2, discard the Dead Fool Loss, Node Ryzeal, send off the Dugaris Reborn from Engrave as we now make our Detonator. Detonator, attach the Fool Loss from Engrave. Normal, the Ice, summon from the deck. Further go into a Baguska. Baguska is now here. What the hell is up with that? We do have the Floodgate-like effect of Baguska, of course, but in addition to that, we have a Monster Negate with the Cross. If we're no longer negated by the Baguska, we have triple pop with the Detonator, giving us 5 disruptions from that. We have Imperm negate a monster. We have Eclipse flip down the entire field. We have Ash negate an interaction in the deck. This is a total of 8 forms of disruption. Good luck. Pre-prep is going to be searching our deck for a Prayers plus a Sarvis. As we now summon the X Ryzeal to send an Aggregator. Aggregator is going to attempt to negate the Baguska, which the Cross could very simply negate. Cross, negate. X Ryzeal negated from searching. As we now Prayers of the Voiceless, tribute off the Skull Guardian to summon our Sarvis. Special summon Sword. We're going to summon a Detonator, which will very simply be negated by the Baguska. End our turn. Baguska's collapse up the mirror match. We're going to be seeing that continually throughout the tournament. Ryzeal Cross. Return 2 Ryzeal cards back to draw a card. Book of Eclipse. Flip it all face down. And now our own Baguska will not be turning off our own effects. We have nothing. The plug-in is not going to be doing anything. We have no hand trap. We got absolutely blown out by the Baguska. We can now Tornado Dragon, pop away that back row card. Let's speed this up into the inevitable victory here as we start Ryzeal sent from the deck a plug-in. Further going into the Light Dragon Ignister. 12,000 damage on the field. Why did we not pop that? Can this only pop face-up cards? What the heck? How do we interact with a face-down Ryzeal Detonator? A face-down Ryzeal Detonator. We had no play to out it. What the heck? Now we could try to pop it, which it will be poppable, since it already protected itself. We're going to be detaching off the Detonator to try to pop a card. The Light Dragon is going to detach to protect itself from being destroyed. Say goodbye to the Sarvis, as the Sarvis is now getting destroyed. We have the Ash Blossom activating to negate the Prayers of the Voiceless from summoning a Skull Guardian from the deck. If we had a low engrave, that would also be triggering. Interesting stuff. There is, a face-down Ryzeal. What are we supposed to do against that? I feel like we do have an out, right? If we Ryzeal, extra deck monster, the out to a face-down is Castell's only a face-up. You're going to shuffle a face-up card back into the deck. We can have the Valen pop a face-down, which is not available in Master Duel. We can, this gets rid of face up. Does Asaphiel deal with it? Where's the Asaphiel at? Asaphiel is a face up only. Who's using, they're not really using Asaphiel. I did kind of see that a little bit. Let me see the Asaphiel. You can target a monster opponent controls return to the hand. So that actually does deal with the face down. And what's great about the Asaphiel is it's just one material you're detaching. So you could use plugin to further reload it. Send a Duo to summon the X Ryzeal, searching for the node. We can speed this up since they have no disruption. Sword Ryzeal searching for an ice. As we now make our Duo Drive without committing to our normal summon yet, we're going to attach from Engrave. Detach 2 to search for a Cross and a Plasma Hole. Cross is now here. Return 2 cards back to draw a card. As we draw into a pre-prep, that was a great draw. We have Prayers plus the Skull Guardian. As we're going to activate the Prayers to summon the Skull Guardian to now search our deck for a low. Well, the low's competing with the normal summon of the Ice Ryzeal. Low's going to take the priority to set up the barrier to search for the Blessing. Blessing is going to be here as we special summon the node. We're going to make a Ryzeal Detonator, equip the Ash Blossom from Engrave. Blessing's going to add back from Engrave our Sarvis. We're going to return 2 spells Engrave back to special summon our Sarvis as we now end our turn. Well, the Eclipse would be great if it weren't for a negate and a negate. The Ash can negate the Eclipse because they could draw a card during the end phase. And in addition to those 2 disruptions, we could pop a card in the field, pop up to 2 cards, and then give a material onto the detonator and another pop a card. We could also use the cross to negate a monster effect. We could also pop 3 more times the detonator. We could also, with the Sarvis, give us the ability to negate an inherent special summon. And then with the Blessing, resummon the Sarvis to negate another inherent special summon. 10 disruptions. Let's go. 7th Tachyon. Don't you dare waste Ash on that. They have a Book of Eclipse. We're going to Sarvis special summon in response to the search, which is also a -1. They have to return a card back to the top of the deck. Let's say goodbye to the Fualos. Summon the Ryzeal to send an Aggregator, negate the summon of the Ryzeal before it activates. Aggregator is going to negate the barrier. We're going to special summon Sword, trigger the Blessing to resummon the Sarvis back onto the field. And we're going to tribute off the low, which I screwed up. It's not 10 disruption, it's 11. Because the low comes back after being tributed to summon the Sarvis to set up the trap to then pop up to 2 cards on the freaking field. We're going to use Cross to negate, so we're at 8 disruption. Actually, we're at 9, because this is the 11th disruption, the Radiance. 11. Okay. Bonfire Search, not going to Ash. Let them grab the Ryzeal. Ryzeal is not going to have a chain link block, but we still did not Ash as they search for the sword. Looks like we're waiting for the duo as we grab an Ice Ryzeal. Now, the problem with waiting for a duo with a duo Engrave is it's going to gain a 3rd material, and then we could maybe try to set up the cross. Well, it actually worked out to save the Ash for the duo because we didn't have a way to set up the cross. If we were to Star Ryzeal detach, it would only have 2 materials left, and then the cross would not even be able to protect it from being able to be negated. As we now set up the cross, Cross is, while face up, able to negate a potential follow-up hand trap like Nibiru. As we use the Ice to summon a node from the deck, we're going to Dugaris, draw 2, draw to maybe more Solemn Strikes. Discard away the dead Tachyon, send away the Dugaris, reborn back the Star Ryzeal. Cross is going to return 2 cards back to draw a card. If drawing is really good in Maliss, then drawing should also be good for us, right? We're going to look at their hand, get rid of the Sword Ryzeal. As we now Pot of D, banish 10 cards off the top of the deck. Draw 2, come to me, another copy of the Strike. Detonator is now here. Equip a card from Engrave as we set 3 and pass. Ooh, buddy. This is... Bro, again? Again, you draw Max C? Or was this another player that drew Max C for the 2nd freaking turn? Can we get the new Master Duel update where you just draw your 6th card for the very first turn, then you don't draw when your turn begins? What the hell, Konami? We have triple pop with the Detonator. We have a monster negate with the Cross. We have negate a summon or a monster effect with Solemn Strike ×2. We have Book of Eclipse to flip the entire field face down. 7 disruptions. Versus a 4-card hand and a dead Max C. Low is going to get negated by the Cross. We're going to send the Low to special summon an Ice. Ice is trolling. Max C is trolling. And plugin is not activating. All right. We did skip our draw phase due to the Dugaris. As please just finish this duel. We have 7,900 damage on the field. That is more than enough for lethal damage, plus our monster negates to negate potentially a Bestial that would try to block off some lethal damage. 2-1 victory. Very well done. Pure Ryzeal with some crazy main decked cards like Book of Eclipse and Solemn Strike, advancing into the top 8. Begin. Branded opening and the draw phase to help play around a drone Lockbird, so we can't use it against the Owlbird, adding a branded fusion. Hey, Maxi, draw for the turn, always happening in today's event. We have Mirror Jade with a non-target banish. Quem can reborn was the Albaz to then fuse the opposing field. We could discard the Branded Fusion if needed, or the Branded High Spirits. And then by fusing with them, we could fuse into a form of disruption. The Lost would have searched for a Mercurial Disruption, but we already have that disruption, so we're going to be able to negate a monster effect. We have the Retribution, which will be able to negate an effect that's special summoned. About 5 forms of disrupts we have here. Dark Blade is going to pop away the Retribution. Mirror Jade is going to non-target banish the Dark Blade. We're going to Droplet. Send 2 to negate 2. Negate the Mirror Jade, negate the Quem. Now, let's reformulate our forms of disruption. We have Mercurial Monster negate, and we still have the Rinbrum with the ability to reborn the Albaz to fuse their field into another form of disruption. So triple disruption, but Call of the Grave is going to mess all of that up. It's happening right now. Call of the Grave, finger the Albaz. Negate. So it was a disruption on top of a disruption. We're left with just the Mercurial to very simply negate the Dark Blade if we want to. Ooh, I know you got that Mercurial, so I'm going to wipe you out, and now you're at 0 disruption. Kaito with the plays, dropping Branded to nothing left. Let's now fully pop this off in main phase 2. Retribution is just going to add back the Branded White to no longer be bothered to continually want to activate, just so Ricky could walk away from the duel, then come back later. Let's speed this up. Send 3 with the horse. Anguish is going to be reborning the Mace from Engrave. Mace will be popping itself to be searching for the Memento Fusion. Memento Fusion, fuse to the graveyard. Return 3 back to summon the Creation King. On summon, send from the deck or extra deck to the graveyard up to 3 cards. We're going to be sending a Gaddock, an Acheron, and a Creation King. Reborn the Gaddock. Gaddock, add back Engrave the Sleepy. Sleepy could special summon, activate to fuse into the Twin Dragon. Twin Dragon can pop a card. Okay, yeah, get that out of the way too. Pop our Twin to search for a Horned and a Combined Creation. Twin's going to trigger to Reborn. Acheron's going to trigger to Reborn. So we have a Sleepy and an Acheron now. We're going to banish the Creation King to search for our Memento Field Spell. Memento Field Spell ready to be triggered after popping the Acheron. We're going to add back the Memento Fusion and trigger the Field Spell to Reborn a monster in Grave. Back onto the Field Goblin, add back the Fusion. We're going to link these 2 bodies up into a Cross Sheep. Special summon the Twin Horn to trigger the Cross Sheep to reborn the Gaddock. We're going to pop the Combined Creation to summon a Dark Blade. We're going to Creation King, pop our Twin Horn to pop a card in the field, to then trigger the Twin Horn to pop 2 more cards in the field, to then make a Masquerena. With the Masquerena and the Cross Sheep, we're going to make a double negate Apollo USA Mate. We're going to return 5 cards in Grave to reborn back the Combined Creation, and set as we trigger the field spell to set into the back row a Bone Party. Oh boy. Well, we made sure to make this a Masquerena so it's protected. Combined Creation getting blown out by the effect of that Mirror Jade. We're in a weird spot. We can't fuse with the graveyard because a Memento card has to be destroyed in order to activate. Actually, it's in your possession a monster being destroyed by card effect. So you could, by battle, destroy the Apollo, and Memento Fusion's no good. Bone Party needs another card to pop that's a Memento monster. And let's read this. If a monster is destroyed by battle or card effect, you target the monster, then summon a Memento with a lower level than a Link, which does not have a level. So Kaito is actually really screwed. Dead Bone Party, dead Fusion, dead Memento Field Spell with a double monster negate, and that's all we got, mate. Grass looking greener with a ton of cards milled. We're going to Apollo negate the Serenir. Negate. That Mirror Jade wiping away the Combined Creation messed up everything. Combined Creation was going to connect all the other pieces. We would have had the ability to take control of a monster, pop multiple cards, pop again, as we're now going to use the Mercurial to negate the Apollo mate. Let's further resolve this, fusing into our Mirror Jade. Now, by negating Apollo, Apollo can activate again. You didn't negate the card, you negated the effect, which would reduce the attack, so we could reduce again if we want, as the Albion will again, as we attempt to activate the Apollo. Now, Apollo only negates if the attack is reduced. If we're going to get banished, we're not reducing, thus we're not negating. The Albion's going to fully go through with our Fusion Summon play. Fuse to the graveyard, come forth and summon into the Albion Sanctifier, which is completely untargetable. Golden Sword Soul triggering off of a monster being banished to reborn from Engrave a Quem or Cartesia. We're going to send from the deck a Cartesia. We're going to send the Albion to reborn our Lubellion. Ricky, is this needed? Let's lethal damage with 10,000 damage. Finish him. Memento did a really good job at dismantling Branded's field, then fully cooking in main phase 2 to then simply, unfortunately, only end on a freaking double Apollo negate. Was there anything else that we could have done to further protect us from that Mirror Jade field wipe? Did we play that field to the best of our ability? Did we ensure that we would want to keep a Memento in hand for the Bone Party to pop during the opponent's turn, knowing that we would have our full field getting wiped? I do think looking back at that, we could have played out that turn a bit differently to further give us more insulation against that Mirror Jade field wipe. Since there's no disruptions, we could speed up in game. Darkblade pop itself, summon Anguish, Anguish on summon searching for the horse, horse summon itself, pop itself, send up to 3 cards in the deck to the grave. We're going to be using the Anguish to pop itself to reborn the Mace from engrave. Mace will pop itself to be searching for the Memento fusion. We can now fuse with the graveyard into our Creation King, send 3 cards in the deck and our X next to the grave here. We can combine Creation Reborn back the Creation King to pop multiple cards in the field. We can negate 3 monster effects of the Apollo USA. We can banish twice of the Mask Arena into a Little Knight. We can Mace, take control of the opposing monster. We could use the Fusion to go into a Guardian Chimera to pop multiple cards. We could Droplet to negate multiple monsters on the field. And we have Max C. 9 disruptions. We got Super Poly, which could maybe put in some good work. Generally, Super Poly is only good if they have multiple of the same attribute. So if you want to get rid of the Apollo, there'd have to be another wind on the field, which there is none. Or you could use Super Poly with your own cards. Maybe you have an Albaz, and you know that the Albaz would be negated from fusing, so you could just use the Super Poly to fuse it away. Albion is going to attempt to draw a card here, chaining Super Poly to discard the Albion to get engraved, so now we have an Albaz engrave. Fuse of the field. Well, what is this? It's generally the same attribute, but if you're spicy enough to play the Earth Golem, which you're playing because of Maliss, you get the additional benefit of using it with the Mask Arena and an Apollo. Cybers monster, which would be a Maliss monster, plus a Link monster, which is generally always going to be the Apollo. Very well done. From 9 disruption, we lost 3 negates, so we then go down to 6, then we lost 2 banishes, so we now go down to 4. That was 5 disruptions we knocked off of their field. That is crazy. Let's normal summon the Alubur. Alubur is going to get Forbidden Dropleted Negate. Now down to 3 disruption. You know what we're waiting for? We're waiting to thrust a grass into our hand, but Kaido is not activating any monster effects to turn on the thrust. Turn on my thrust! Verte Anaconda, which would disallow us from further summoning for the rest of the turn. Well, thank you. I tricked you into activating a monster effect, so I can now thrust the grass. Grass is here. Let's get to it. Milling a ton of cards from the top of the deck. Let's analyze that real quick. Oh my Jesus. We have 4, 8, 12, 16, 23 cards milled. Look at that. The allure. You know, we're like connect 3, crossing it out. Let's now trigger our effects. Serenir sent from the deck to the grave a Branded white. Retribution will add the white engrave back to our hand. This can help us further play around an Ash that's maybe being held onto. We have the combined Creation reborning back the Creation King. We're going to chain the Max C to the effect to special summon using the grave. Are you ready? Fusing with the Albion Shrouded Dragon plus the Golden Sword, so to summon the Albion Branded Dragon into a Super Poly. Are we taking the Maxi Challenge? Lubellian Searing Dragon on summon is going to discard to fuse with the Graveyard Banish, as we're now going to use the Golden Sword, so triggering off a card being banished here to reborn a Quem or Cartesia from engrave. Quem is now here. We are top tier, as we're going to summon a Chaos Star Source, which will pop multiple cards on the field. We're going to trigger the Quem and the Star Source to pop the Creation King and the combined Creation. We're going to chain the Creation King to pop our own cards plus the opposing cards, and we're going to chain the Bone Party. We are popping how many? We're popping 1 combined for 1 Quem, and then we're going to Bone Party to further pop our own card to then summon from the deck an Anguish. say goodbye, as we are going to send an Albaz from the deck to the grave to the effect of the Quem as we trigger the Anguish when summoned to add from the deck to our hand. Acheron is going to be triggering to reborn from the grave. Memento field spell is going to be targeting the combined creation to reborn another monster from the grave. We got the Horned, which if we are able to pop it, it will then trigger to pop multiple cards in the field. Acheron is activating so that our level 9s can attack directly. Horned is only if destroyed by card effect would it trigger. Branded Sword's going to add back the banished Albion Shrouded Dragon to our hand here. We're going to use the Memento Fusion, only activatable within the main phase. We're going to summon a Dragostapelli instead of a Guardian Chimera. Now, in main phase 3, we're going to be activating the High Spirit to add back to the hand, give back the Verta Anaconda. We're going to activate Summon the Sleepy during the end phase to fuse up the field into a Twin Dragon. Twin Dragon on summon is going to be popping our own Acheron to be searching for the horse, which will trigger the Acheron to add back a banished creation into the extra deck, or from the grave, we can add back any spell that we want, adding back the Bone Party. What does Branded have? Nothing? What the? Dark Blade is going to activate to pop the Sleepy to summon an Anguish, trigger the Acheron, and trigger the Sleepy, and trigger the Anguish. We're going to pass on the Sleepy activation, which would send a card from the deck to the grave. We only have 19 cards left. As we add a horse in the deck, we're going to be reborning the Acheron, activating to allow our big Creation King and Combined Creation to attack directly, which would be exactly 8,000 damage. We're going to use the Azalea to pop herself plus the Verta Anaconda, fuse with the hand and field to, or grave to now summon the Creation King, which can attack directly. Activate to send up to 3 cards from the deck or actually to the graveyard, knowing that the combined creation will now be reborn to attack directly. We are just going to surrender right here, right now, as we now hop into game number 3. This is it. Surviving through a grass looking greener. What's going to happen? Set evenly, send from the deck to draw a card. YOLO! Draw 2, banish away the Serenir here. YOLO again. We're going to banish away the kit, and we finally drew into our Branded Fusion. We're going to Fusion Deployment, attempt to summon from the deck, chain the Maxi to the attempt to special summon, and we can't call it off. It's not an add or special summon like the Branded opening, so we're going to fully commit to the feat. Blazing Cartesia is here. Of course, we still want to follow up with the Branded Fusion, fusing into the Rinbrum to then just simply pass back to you. What is going on here? We do have the Rinbrum, which could return a monster in the field back to the hand. We do have, if we fuse with the Rinbrum, with the Cartesia or the Super Poly, we could reborn back the Albaz, then fuse with their field, then fuse into a form of disruption. And that's gonna, and then we have the Super Poly as a form of disruption. It's about 4 forms of disrupt. Dark Blade on summon's gonna pop the back row, bluffed, evenly matched. We're gonna Dark Blade pop itself, summon for the deck of Mace. Mace is going to activate to, we're going to chain Super Poly. Now, to use the effect of Mace, we have to destroy a Memento we control, and only if we do we then get to add a Memento Fusion. So by chaining Super Poly, ensuring they can't chain anything to the effect, there's going to be nothing to pop, no search for you, completely denied. Super Poly with the Cartesia and the Mace. Now, there's a problem. We don't have a way to activate Albaz unless we have a card in hand. Retribution can be a way to add a card to the hand, so actually that problem is fixed. Or the Grand Granol could instead send a Garura to possibly draw a card here. Ash, negate the Grand Granol mate. All right, so we still have negate an extra deck monster, then return a card. We're going to use the Retribution right now to add back the Branded Fusion, so we do potentially have a play. Super Poly fusing up with their fields into a Dragostapelia. We got Super Poly back and forth from both players here. The Dragostapelia will be able to negate the Albaz from trying to fuse with them. So instead, we can use the Rinbrum because it was properly summoned, just reborn back the Rinbrum instead. That's exactly what we choose to do. We're now going to add back the Cartesia within the end phase, add back with the Branded in High Spirits. Forbidden Droplet plus Dragostapelia, double forms of disruption. Activate Branded Fusion, send from the deck to come forth and summon our Albion Branded Dragon. When do we activate the Dragostapelia? Right here, right now, we're going to attempt to negate, but the Rinbrum can negate the negate. We're going to chain Forbidden Droplet Mate. And this is it, our 2 forms of disruption. Negate. the Rinbrum, negate the Albion. What now? We can follow up potentially with Cartesia as we do. Special summon from the hand here. To battle phase we go. We're gonna get the Rinbrum engraved to potential if we want to during the next turn. we're triggering a bunch of grave artifacts. Wait, right? Why? No? Albion set in the end phase, Rinbrum reborn Albaz during the next turn. I don't understand. This gets set like a branded in banishment or a branded in red. Check PayPal? Gianna, check PayPal. What's going on? Oh, it was, okay, it was time. Remember? If you can't explain something, their time limit's low, but it wasn't the time limit being low, it was the actual time limit. Actual time. They have how long, Gianna? 60 minutes. They were the ones in time. 60 minutes were up, and the highest life points won. Thank you, YouTube, for watching the top 16. We're going to be advancing to the top 8 grand finale and top deck list, starting off with Maliss against Ryzeal. Straight up, whoever wins this match will be the definitive better deck that you should go into. And if you are the losing deck, then rip Bozo to your money and gems. I'll see you there. Let's go.